Lethbridge. Oh, super. Okay. And yes, the session will be recorded and can be referenced afterwards on our YouTube channel. Um, but before we get started, I just want to acknowledge Lethbridge Secwépemc is on the traditional lands of the Blackfoot peoples, Treaty 7 territory. And let's not forget to learn and listen in an active way in our day-to-day lives. And part of that is participating, and there are some fun things you can do like taking Blackfoot language classes at the Galt Museum and Archives. They're free. You can do them virtually. I've done it. It's the best, and I am going to do it every time I can now because you learn more than just language when you do. So with that, I'll start with just introducing my companions here on the screen. We have Jill Stanton, the star of the show, the muralist in question here, who will be coming to Lethbridge to do a beautiful piece on the transit center downtown. And Jillian, the other Jill Bracken, who is our, did you want to introduce yourself, Jillian? I'm sorry.
Sure. No, that's great. I work for the City of Lethbridge as a community arts and culture manager and have the pleasure of working with the Allied Arts Council to implement the city's public art program.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. So I can say a bit more about Jill Stanton. But before I do, I'll just talk a little bit about the project. So that's just the background that you see in the call for expressions of interest. Um, this is a project that's a little bit long coming. We're really excited to finally have Jill Stanton here to execute this mural. This one's going to be, hers is going to be on the outside. That's taking place in the summertime. After that, there's a wall on the interior, and that is what the selected mentee will be painting for their very own mural. So this is a nice staged opportunity where the selected mentee will be able to learn from Jill during their own planning process through some mentorship there, some demonstration. And afterwards, when they're executing their own, they'll still have some access to that mentorship and guidance and support to execute their own mural inside. So to say a little bit more about Jill Stanton, over the past decade, she has produced over 80 murals of varying complexity and size. Mural festivals, including the Vancouver Mural Festival, Winnipeg's Wall to Wall, Bump in Calgary, and many more. What's really lovely about Jill's work, I mean, she strives to ensure her public artwork meaningfully reflects the community, environment, neighborhood, and city. And her process is research-based and site-specific. So a lot of the great work that we see in public art and in mural art is sort of bringing you into that moment and reflecting what the space is that you're moving through and what this community is about. So we really appreciate that thoughtfulness. There are some examples of Jill's work in the call, and there's lots more when you look on her website. I really encourage you to look that up. So again, like I mentioned, the first phase is the planning and design phase. So it's kind of a parallel situation where the mentee will be thinking through how to plan out their own design as well as the project management side of it. And that's something that Jill can support with. And then in the implementation phase, which is in the fall, so September to December, that's when the installation happens. So there will be a point at which you've come up with a design and that will be sort of submitted for approval. You do not need to do a design as part of this application. Point of this application is for us to learn about who you are, where you want to be, and how this mentorship will help you as a stepping stone in your career. As far as eligibility goes, there isn't a strict boundary on the region, but Lethbridge surrounding areas, basically Treaty 7 territory that goes like from Medicine Hat all the way to the BC border, or south to the US, and north to maybe High River-ish. But if you have a connection to Lethbridge, you live in the area, if you're not sure, you can talk to us, but Lethbridge and region. And then, of course, you've got to be available. It is virtual. Most of the mentorship will be virtually conducted, but during the time that Jill is here for her mentorship, for her mural, will be about a 2-week period. Is that right?
Yeah.
Jill?
Yeah.
That will be an opportunity for some real in-person hands-on demo. And then um, the fall will be the actual execution. So with that, that was just in regards to your availability. So you definitely need to be here during that sometime in the September to December. You don't have to take the whole period, and it won't, I think, to install that interior mural. But you know, to the availability is according to those 2 time periods. Of course, this is a paid opportunity. There will be 20 hours of mentorship across the 2 phases. The artist will be paid a fee for the design. So that's $500 plus GST when you submit the proposed design. And then there's a mural budget of $3,500 as well to actually, paint the project. The expression of interest, what we need to see as part of that is going to be a letter indicating your interest in the project, as well as going over some of your sort of qualifications, your background, your previous experience, if you have done murals before, commissions, and so on like that. You should sort of address the mentorship details and talk about how it will affect your practice and talk about your goals. If you have an artist CV, please include that. If you don't, there are some other ways that you can talk about your history and experience. And then we definitely do want to see 5 to 10 images of your amazing work. And that will also please include labels indicating the size and medium and year and so on. If you've done a piece in collaboration with another artist, please do indicate that. And that is basically the gist of it. I think most people maybe have read the call, but I want to open the floor to questions.
So anyone who does have questions, just feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A section down below, and then we'll read them out and have whoever needs to answer the question answer the question. So the floor is open for questions. So Eric is asking, Jill, have you ever done a mentorship before?
Not like I guess yes, I've done one as part of Next Fest in Edmonton. It was actually pretty similar to this, where like the artists had their own sort of mural happening, and they were helping me paint mine, and we kind of like collaborated on what theirs would look like, and yeah. I don't do a ton of mural mentorships. I love giving people advice about painting murals. I suppose I do a lot of unofficial mentorships very often. So I do have like quite a bit of information to share, and I'm always happy and excited to do it. So I'm pretty pumped about working with somebody more kind of like one-on-one, and really kind of like guiding them through what they want to learn in context of mural painting. Yeah, so I guess rarely do I do a specific mentorship, but yeah, I think this will be fun.
Those unofficial mentorships can be
Yeah,
really impactful too. This way we get to pay for it.
So we have another question. Before we had mentioned this being an opportunity you wish you had had. Can you say a
right.
little bit more about that, Jill?
Well, we were just like gabbing about like I'm not even sure. Should we even talk about this? Like this was just like me talking about how like when I started painting murals, like lifts and like heavy equipment was like a huge barrier to me because I obviously didn't know how to drive a lift. You need a like certifications and all of that kind of thing. And it's just really intimidating as an artist, but also as a woman. And I just wish that when I was starting, it was like a little more accessible as like, yeah, who I was at the time. And if I had like, you know, an artist pal or like a mentor artist person to like, you know, be in a lift with me as I sort of like drove it around shakily, you know, unconfidently, but then they're there to like, you know, help me through that. That would have been awesome. I guess that's what we were talking about. So we're just in, basically we're saying like there's a possibility of like the artist that is chosen, like the mentee, to maybe get their lift ticket so they can be in the lift with me and I can show them how to drive it a little, like get their confidence up on that. Because you will, if you're painting murals, you will need a lift at some point. It's just an inevitability. So I want to help you get confident on it, essentially. So anyway, that's what we're talking about behind the scenes, but it wasn't actually behind the scenes. That's,
yeah. That principle extends to so many different things too, right? About the practicalities of it, the project management side of things, the planning, as well as just those actual like painting techniques or how you think about translating your art as an artist. So yeah, there's lots to learn there.
We have a question from Jessica. Is there any painting style that works best for mural painting? She can be more of an intuitive painter and wonders if this would translate well to a bigger surface.
I guess I can take a stab at that. So that's the thing about mural painting is I think there's so many different ways to go about it and to approach it. I think that's one of the super cool things is like so many mural artists have different styles because they started painting in, you know, totally different styles. And I have a different style than all of you probably for sure. And that's like very cool. And like I might not be able to tell you exactly how to translate your painting style to a wall, but I can definitely give you tips that I know about that might help you figure that out. And I think that's the cool thing about painting a mural is like you will have to figure a lot of it out yourself, like in terms of like the actual painting style and that kind of thing. But like what I hope to do is like guide you through like the practical part of it, like stuff that doesn't work, like types of materials, types of brushes that I find are like helpful, site management, like all of the kind of like nitty gritty of like actually working on a wall. That's the stuff that I'm like, I've got like just years and years and years of experience on. And that will free you up to like have the confidence to figure out your style as you go with like mural painting. But I think like any style can translate to a wall, honestly. Like if you look at murals around the world, there's like, it's an infinite like variety. So I think if you want to paint murals, you can paint murals. And it's just, you're going to have to figure some stuff out, but we can do that together. Yeah, I think
it's a really interesting question too, just from a process and planning basis too, that I hadn't even really thought of, which is like being an intuitive painter, if you are kind of figuring it out, being process based on the wall, that is a really interesting way of doing it. I will say, just from like a boring administrative standpoint, we do need to see proposed design.
right.
That will be sort of approved ahead of time, and you do get paid that design fee of $500 up front for that. But that's not to say that, you know, it has to be like every brushstroke in place, but we do need to see sort of what that might look like ahead
That's
of
a good point.
Yeah.
You will often be working for people who are, you know, like paying you to paint a huge painting on a public space. And so there's a certain amount of like expectation that there will be something that looks like something that they expect in that process. So eventually, like, you know, you might find that you can, you know, find your way with like just intuitive painting clients, like giving you walls and just saying, go for it. Like I've definitely had some walls like that I've had the opportunity to just sort of like go for it. And it's awesome. But yeah, often you will have people that will want to see what the thing will look like in the end. So yeah.
KT, can I add one comment?
Yeah.
It would just to mention that in the process, though, there is a mechanism to request changes. So we recognize sometimes that artists will have an experience or a different understanding during the process. So there is an opportunity if you're having like going through some type of experience and feeling a bit differently in the moment while you're painting something, to discuss a change and then have that reviewed and approved by all the parties involved. So I just wanted to make that small comment that there is some structure, but also an acknowledgement that this is a creative and often a very personal process that artists go through. So we acknowledge that sometimes the vision changes a little bit during the process.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie. That's great.
We have another question from, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, Krills, a digital artist and does that work too, installing in a vinyl. So I think they're asking, would it be possible to install a vinyl for this mentorship piece? And KT could probably speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, we have vinyl calls for that type of project. I think the person who will get the most out of this mentorship is somebody who wants to learn to paint with some like physical materials on the wall. There are a lot of technicalities and skills that are involved with that, and that's not to knock the vinyl artists. I think those are great projects too that are open to like a wider variety of art creation styles. But this one is a real opportunity to learn how to do this type of mural art. So I think in this case, it will be that.
Eric asks, one of my own barriers for applying for murals is knowing how to budget paint quantities and estimating time. How will this kind of stuff have to be figured out before the mentorship? Will this kind of stuff have to be figured out before the membership? So budgeting time and paint quantities.
Right. No, in this case, that is one of the great benefits of a project like this is that you don't have to know that stuff ahead of time because, as you say, it is a barrier when you don't quite know how to approach that. So that is part of what that planning phase is for, is to lead on the experience of Jill there to help you figure that out. The size of the wall is such that that there will be room in the budget that is given you for this, but there are considerations to take to think about with that, and that is something that Jill is there to help with.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I have lots of information about that, so I can give you advice for future stuff. But this one's nice because it's fixed. There's a fixed budget. You'll definitely be able to paint that wall within that budget 100%. And then for future ones, there's lots of tips and tricks for that.
And we want to make sure that you've got room in there left over to pay yourself too, right? Like don't spend all that money on paint.
100%.
You gotta pay your bills.
If you spend that much money on paint, you're doing something crazy that I will stop you from doing. So,
but yeah. Was there
okay. Haley asks, is there a theme for the mural?
No, I would say that this is very loose when the only theme really in some way is like a response to the site. So this is a transit terminal that has buses going through it. People are there getting their bus, getting their maps, getting their tickets, whatever it might be. There's a park and ride on the upper levels. Pedestrians are moving through. It's a active, busy little place, and it's a neat spot downtown. So there's lots of ways to respond to that through your own artistic practice, through your own lens. And as far as theme goes, that's pretty much what it comes down to. What is your voice and what is your response to this site?
Yeah, and just a note, it doesn't have to do anything to do with my portion of the mural. Like my thing is going to be my own thing. We'll work on it together. Like, like you'll help me work on it if you want. I'll be doing it, but then your thing is your thing. Like it doesn't have to relate thematically whatsoever. So like that's a good point.
It's not a response to Jill's work.
Yeah.
response to, although I guess if you are inspired
Yeah,
in some way to riff off of that, for sure, it's going to be part of the site too once it's
sure,
installed.
yeah. But like, yeah, just like it's on, like it's your thing. Like it's not, you don't have to, yeah. Don't let me limit your vision or whatnot.
Meant to
Yeah.
be an extension of that
Yeah.
work, but its own piece. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Eric, for sure. There will be a wide diversity of people that get to see it. Do we have any other questions? Want to know some hot tips on how to make a great application? Okay. Then I will just share some. Um, yeah, so sometimes is anybody not sure how to make a combined PDF? So what we ask for is for all the components of the application to be put together into one document. That makes it easy for us to share with our selection committee. But I know it can be a little bit fussy sometimes. So if anybody has questions about that or issues with that, you can always like email me. My email is in the application forms, just publicart@artslethbridge.org. And but what we want to see in there is a letter of intent that really speaks to what your goals are. We kind of want to know where you're at, where you see yourself going, and how this mentorship might help get you there. If you have never picked up a paintbrush before, you could be the most talented woodcarver in the world, but you may not be getting the most out of this experience if you're sort of starting from zero as a painter. So do try to demonstrate in your images, in your supporting images, what your experience is with sort of similar materials, or if you've worked at scale, so like in larger pieces, or if you've done work like commissions or work in public spaces. You don't have to be a professional muralist by any means. You don't even have to have done a mural. But we want to be able to help us make that connection of how this will help catapult might be dramatic, but help as a stepping stone to grow your career and enable you to take on some bigger contracts that might have respond to some calls that might have seemed just a little bit out of reach. Eric's asking, is mural experience an advantage or disadvantage for eligibility? I mean, I think it's an advantage for the most part. The only time it would be a disadvantage, I think, would be if you were, if you had also done 80 murals across the world, and then we would think, well, this might not be. But I just don't think that the scale of it would appeal to that in any case. So don't worry about disadvantaging yourself. Share your experience. You're not going to overqualify yourself for this if you're interested in it.
Mhm.
Tell us all about it. Don't be shy.
Yeah, and like if you've painted a mural before and you're like, oh, that didn't go well. I wish I had known this, this, and this. I want to know that. Like, so I mean, maybe this is not what is specifically should go on the call, but to me, like, I actually would like to hear, like, what do you want out of a mentorship? Like, what are you looking for from me specifically as somebody who has painted a bunch of murals? Like, do you like pricing? Like, are you really like wanting to know more about pricing? Are you really wondering about like different wall materials? Like, what kinds of information, like, what level of information about mural painting are you sort of looking for from me? Because that'll help me sort of determine, like, if I have a lot of information to give you or not, or that kind of thing. So that's helpful for me in the application as well. Like when I'm looking over them, just to see, yeah, like what you are sort of envisioning, like our sort of, yeah,
Yeah, I
relationship.
think that's a really good point too, is about like sharing your struggles. You won't just qualify yourself by saying how something didn't go well for you either.
Mhm.
This is a mentorship. We're not going to say, oh, well, then you're not experienced. No, this is the point, is to help grow and help build on these things. So if you're, open and sincere about where you are, I think that is a really strong thing to do. So what should the length of the letter of intent be? That's a good question. We didn't specify that. A page tends to be fairly standard. If you need to go over that by a little bit, we understand. You don't have to jam it all into like half a page, 500 words or something like that. It's a little bit flexible, but maybe write out your full version and then you can tailor it back a little bit. We do want to be considerate of our selection committee members and their time, but I would say 1 to 2 pages is probably, does that sound right? Yeah. The dates of commitment for the mentorship are specific dates available at this time. So
for my portion, yeah. I don't 100% know when I'm going to be in Lethbridge yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. In the summer. I would guess July, if I had to guess. Sometime in July is like what yeah, that would be my guess if I had to guess. And
I think probably people are wondering if they'll, if how much lead time maybe that they might know by that
I will know by the time there's like a person selected. Yeah, like you'll know when you know that you got the thing. So like because things are a little floaty right now for me, but but that 2-week time period will be in the summer, and it'll be determined shortly. But the rest of it, so that's like when I'm in Lethbridge doing my mural. But there's other I can be available like this, like digitally, sort of like throughout the summer and throughout the fall, like whenever you kind of need me, like we can structure it however we need. But yeah, that 2-week time period where like I'm in town kind of thing will be sort of probably July sometime, probably.
And the time spans are listed in the call. Here, I'll grab the timeline because we also.
Oh, and they're not full 8-hour days, like somebody's saying.
Oh,
like,
I missed that one. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so this is like it's going to be dependent on you a little bit. So like if you are really, game to like help me out with a bunch of paint fills and like, get in there with like rollers and like fill in colors and do double coats and stuff, like, yeah, we can totally put in like, a few hours or more if you want. But if you just want to like visit the site and we can like go through, looking at what a site looks like and how to get stuff on a wall, like there's all kinds of ways that we can structure what you get out of me being in town on the site. It's not like, a job where you're like, okay, 8 hours, like come. Yeah, it can be like 2 hours, or it can be, I can't remember, up to however long. So it depends on the person and what they sort of want, I think. Yeah,
there's definitely some flexibility there, which will be great. Just to answer the timeline questions here before I get to Eric's, the submissions are due May 18th. The notifications are May 28th. So by the end of May, you'll hear back about selection. And we notify everybody. You won't be waiting around for a public announcement. We do. I've done that. I've applied to things and then been like, well, what are you going to tell me? Yeah, and yes, Jill is painting the external mural.
Yes.
Yeah. Exterior.
Yeah. So there's that big wall and some columns. So that's what I'll be doing in that 2-week chunk. So yeah, that's what you can come to the site. And depending on what you want to learn from that, like I can show you how I like put a drawing onto a wall from a small drawing. That is magic that a lot of people seem to be interested in. You can help me draw like on the wall if you want. You can help me paint, like all that kind of stuff. Like we can just talk about like looking at a site and like, how to plan a mural by looking at a site and anything you want. But yeah, that's where I'll be painting my mural. And then your mural will be inside the transit center. Yeah.
That'll be a really neat contrast to see too, because like there are so many more things that go on with an exterior mural that you don't have to worry about inside, but you can get that like sort of safe exposure to it by witnessing Jill's exterior one and then doing it inside. Although I guess there is a restriction inside more so is that you can't use spray paint the way that you might outside.
Right. But I don't use spray paint, so
you don't use spray paint anyway, so
yeah, that's another thing. If you're hoping to learn spray paint, then sorry, you're out of luck because I suck at it. So
I echo hooray. Were there any other questions we can address? While we wait, in case anybody does want to ask something else, I will just say again, with your supporting images, try to have good, clear pictures. I know it can be hard sometimes if we just have our phone or whatever, but do try to make sure that those are clear and like of a high enough resolution that they're visible well on screen and we can actually make out what's going on there in those images. If there's context to it, like if it is a mural or something like that, it's nice to see it like in the space with some context. Yeah.
Like dimensions and stuff, hey? Like for like the reference images? I don't know. Like I would be curious. Yes. Like often that's like
yeah, I hope I put dimensions in the image list request.
Sorry, yes. But no spray paint.
No, we do absolutely want to know the context of what the medium is, how large it is, when it was made, and those questions there. So that should say, yeah, labels indicating size, medium, and year. So you can have a separate image list with them numbered, or you can just the easiest way is just to label it right under each image. What it is. Yeah.
Sorry about spray paint. I feel bad. Yeah. I'm glad I said something because yeah, that's yeah. I would also love to learn spray paint. Yeah.
There have been classes on that have been run here at CASA at the Art Center. I don't know if there are plans to do that in the near future, but if you don't already subscribe to the CASA newsletter and look at all the classes that are offered there, then that's a good place to keep an eye for spray education in the future.
I will say that like regardless of whether you're using spray paint or not spray paint, like planning a mural, making a mural, like site management, like working in public, all of that stuff is the same. Except the fact that your insurance will be much more if you're using spray paint because of overspray. Right. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah. So if you're still interested in like the rest of what painting a mural is about, you know, that's all information that I have, just not spray paint.
Yeah. And if you're not, as you go away from this, if you think, oh, I wish I would have asked a question, or I'm really not sure if my background fits, just talk to us. Send me an email. We can chat. We'll just talk it through with you. And for the most part, I suggest that like applying is, if you've got the time for it, it's always worthwhile because just going through that process will get you thinking about some things that will be really, really useful. Even if you don't end up being selected for the opportunity, the process can be still valuable. So
that's awesome advice in general for art applications. I know it's very hard to not get discouraged about them often. I find like I'm always discouraged, but then I always get something out of the application itself. So that's really good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. If we are not chosen, we'll still apply. Good. If we're not chosen for the mentorship, would you be open for an open workshop for a day or so? It's not something
that would, I mean, possibly. It would be something that we 3-4 would have
to. We can talk about.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, if that's the case, then we can put it on the website. And if you apply, the other nice thing about applying is that you also, we have your email. And
Yeah.
then we can add everybody to our mural email list, regardless of your application status. So when there are follow-ups or other opportunities, you're just that much more likely to hear about it.
Mhm. I also have like a mural, like how to paint a mural, like PowerPoint that I think the Allied Arts Council has somewhere on file. That's like a big PowerPoint of like it's probably somewhere on a computer that I have, but I think you guys also put it on your website somewhere.
Yeah, was it one that you had presented like virtually in
Yeah,
a recorded way? I think Eric just shared the link in the chat.
there you go. Wow. Holy smokes. Great.
Bravo.
There you go. So that's like some information, but yeah, I mean, I'd be open to some kind of thing like that, but we would have to talk about it. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of last call for questions here before we kind of wrap it up. I mean, like I said, last call is not really a last call. You can always follow up with us afterwards, but thank you so much for joining us here tonight, Jill and Jillian and Steve, who is our executive director, even though he didn't get a proper introduction. This is our awesome executive director here at the Allied Arts Council. And thank you, everybody, for your interest. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your great questions. And we hope to see your applications.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, the Jills. All right. Cheers, everyone. Again, this recording will be online, so you can watch it again after.